What is going on, Guardians? J-Man here, and today I'm sharing a build that you just might need for the day one raid. Since the launch of Lightfall, I've heard feedback about enemies being a bit too tanky, especially on more difficult activities. And I don't think the actual problem is the increase in enemy health, but rather the lack of Guardians using debuffs. Over the past year or so, our loadouts have been so strong that we never cared to use debuffs, with the exception of a seasonal mod here and there and Divinity. And even then, a big reason for Divinity was to leverage the giant crit bubble. So I went to the lab to put together the ultimate debuff loadout and crafted a Void Warlock build using Controverse Hold and the brand new exotic LMG Deterministic Chaos. And thanks to some new fragments and armor mods, we'll be spamming vortex grenades and spawning orbs of power that will provide us with infinite volatile rounds, weapon damage buffs, ability regen, and devour. Now to clarify, this is not the highest damage or DPS loadout in the game. It is more designed to support your team with debuffs while shredding adds and surviving. Think of encounters like Exhibition from Vow of the Disciple, where the goal is to move fast, kill a lot, and stay alive, especially on that day one contest mode. For this build, I want to start with this season's artifact mods that help shape the setup. And a quick reminder that all of these artifact mods are passive. We don't actually have to slot them into our armor, which is pretty nuts. First, we have authorized mods for both Void and Grenades. Authorized mods discount the cost of associated armor mods. So in this case, the mods that synergize with your Void subclass and Vortex Grenade will be cheaper than normal. And that's really where the idea to go with Controverse Hold came from. We also have the epic return of Volatile Flow, where picking up an Orb of Power grants our Void weapons volatile rounds. There's even Bricks from Beyond that actually has a chance to generate heavy ammo for you and your team on Void weapon kills. And last but definitely not least, there's Void Weapon Channeling, where you gain bonus damage to Void weapons after a weapon final blow, where at least one of your Void abilities is fully charged. We can then pair this artifact setup with our armor mods. First off, we need to spawn some Orbs of Power to activate our buffs, and what better way to do that than with a Firepower mod on a grenade build. Firepower does spawn orbs on grenade kills, synergizing very well with Controverse Holds. As a backup, I did also slot Harmonic Siphon, creating orbs from Rapid Void weapon final blows. And when we pick that orb up, we're going to be doing a lot. We already know we're activating Volatile Flow from the artifact, but we'll also be stacking Void weapon damage buffs thanks to Void weapon surge. We'll also be activating Font of Wisdom, helping recharge our Nova Bomb super. And I wanted these buffs to last as long as possible, which is why I'm combining Charged Up, Stacks on Stacks, and Time Dilation. Charged Up increases the number of stacks of armor charge we can carry, Stacks on Stacks will grant an additional stack of armor charge when picking up an orb, and Time Dilation will extend the duration of our armor charge decay. So when we pick up a single orb, all of our armor mod buffs will last a whopping 36 seconds. That's over half a minute of buff super regen and Void weapon damage while also activating Volatile Flow. But it doesn't end there, because you can also activate Devour from the Echo of Starvation fragment. And this is really where the survivability piece of the build stems from. Not only does Devour activate from picking up an orb, but also by picking up a Void Breach. And we can spawn breaches by defeating volatile targets thanks to Echo of Cessation. This new fragment also creates a burst of Void damage on finisher final blows, which I found unbelievably helpful in sticky situations where you're surrounded by adds. And how can we pass up on Echo of Undermining, which will weaken enemies on grenade damage? As we mentioned, you gotta go with the Vortex Grenades for this build, and where things get interesting is with our aspect selection. I'm not using Feed the Void to activate Devour because I can already do that with the Echo of Starvation fragment, which is why I'm opting for Chaos Accelerant to overcharge our Vortex Grenade, and Child of the Old Gods to debuff enemies while returning even more ability energy. Now you'll always have the freedom to choose your weapons, but for this build, we need to use Void Guns to synergize with all of our mods. And I have to feature the new exotic LMG Deterministic Chaos. This Void machine gun has the intrinsic trait Heavy Metal, where every fourth bullet becomes a heavy projectile that weakens targets. which pairs with Vexadecimal, where every 16 shot makes targets volatile. So this complements our build nicely, just adding even more ways to debuff opponents, and with paired with all of our status buffs is honestly insane. I'm also using the classic funnel web with Adrenaline Junkie, perfect for a grenade-focused build, and is also capable of stunning Overload champs this season. And I'm rounding the weapons out with a Riptide. Obviously freezing foes is a great tool, and the Riptide has become the go-to anti-champion fusion. In fact, with this setup, you'll be able to stun every champion type. Phew. As complex as all of this sounds, this build is actually so easy to play with and is super effective. All you need to do is spam grenades, which will pretty much always be available. Then, pick up those orbs of power and have infinite volatile rounds, buffs, and survivability. And like we mentioned, this build is not meant to hit like a truck like those Starfire loadouts, but rather meant to debuff and weaken opponents, which can be the difference of clearing an encounter or not on the day 1 raid. Guardians, that will conclude our video for today. As per usual, let us know what you think about the build in the comments below, including some tips to make it stronger. If you enjoyed the video, please help me out with a like and sub to the channel. Good luck on those day 1 raids, my friends, and as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the Cosmodrome.